January last year, and then a week or two later, COVID all kicked off. So it was quite challenging implementing the strategy that was due to be in place, both from the ECB Inspiring Generation strategy and Lancashire's strategy as well. But it's been a massively exciting 16 months or so, and the future's so bright for women and girls cricket. So just to give you a little bit of background today of what's happened the last year or so, how the season's gone to date, and what the future looks like. Before talking about the new regional model, give you a very brief update on the Lancashire County Championship side. So we took part back in May now in the Women's County Championship. We finished top of the Northern Group, which is fantastic. Emma Lamb was our standout performer in that competition, top run scorer in the event as well. And we're in a very healthy place with that, with lots of players getting their cap and putting in some good performances. The new structure, though, has seen the country split into 8. With us, we've got Lancashire as a host county, and Cheshire and Cumbria also part of our region, making the Thunder team. So that's the new structure we're part of. With that, it's heading towards the women's game becoming professional. We started off with 5 players on professional contracts, and the rest on a pay-as-you-play contract, but more of them getting more time training, more time playing, but accessing the best coaches and facilities. So it's an important start. We're working to ensure there's effective pathways as well across Cumbria and Cheshire. It's not all about Lancashire. We need Cumbria and Cheshire feeding into the system here, making sure they're inclusive and accessible for girls as they start their journey to cricket, with different entry points as well. It's not all, if you've not started at this age, we want chances for everyone as they progress. When we started the Thunder model, we started from scratch. So we had to select a squad of 15 players. We had to recruit a new head coach. So we've got Paul Shaw in place, former England women's head coach, which we're delighted about. And he's also got some good coaching staff with him now, including Stephen Parry and Craig White. We've got Lancs Medical, who work with the men's here as well, and we feel we've got a very robust setup now to give the girls the best chance they've got to excel. So we're very excited about the structure here. In terms of how we've begun as a team, last year it was only a short competition with just 6 games, and we won 2 from the 6. We're one of the youngest, I think we are the youngest squad in the competition, so it was a learning curve of getting them into action, working with our coaches, and seeing where we stand as a squad. There were a few gaps in the squad, particularly in batting and seam bowler. So we've got some, was a decent one when available as well. But we're learning in that first year, really. We had a fantastic winter in the indoor centre here, and it set us up with a great opportunity to hit the 2021 season running. Before I go into just details, I just want to touch on the 100 for us. So on the women's side, the domestic season takes a pause, and the 100 takes place. The depth isn't there where you can have both competitions taking place at the same time. The Manchester Originals, it naturally aligns into the regional model here, and we've got 11 of the Thunder players were part of the original squad. We've got the same head coach and medical team, and it was a fantastic opportunity for the players to access quality coaching, playing as high quality international opposition, and having the intensity of training for that 5-week period as well. So it was a fantastic opportunity. I think a good chance as well just to ask Kate to reflect as a player what it meant to play that first game as well at the Oval and what it meant for the players.
Yeah, I think from a player's point of view, it's probably one of the most professional tournaments that I've been involved in. And I've been lucky enough to play in the Big Bash and play international cricket as well, but I've never played in front of a crowd like we had here at Old Trafford or at the Oval on that first game. So, yeah, there's obviously been a lot of talk about the 100 and what it takes or potentially gives to the game or takes away from the game, but from the women's point of view, it couldn't have gone better, I don't think. And the opportunity that it's going to give to young players like an Emma Lamb to go and get selected for England, I think is fantastic. So, yeah, I can't speak more highly about the 100 and the opportunity that it gave us as players.
Yeah, well said. I think massively important for the women's game going forward. As a team, we finished 5th out of 8. Took us a couple of games to get going, but it was a fantastic finish to the event. Just 1 point off a place in the finals day, and some great performances from the squad as a whole in the end, including the win at Headingley, which is always well received. And as a squad this year then, so the winter put the squad in really good stead. Our ambition was to be more competitive in games. Last year simply were a few games where we weren't in it. And pleasingly this year, bar a couple of games, we've been in every game. And we had a good chance to still get into the T20 finals. Unfortunately, it didn't go our way, but we're in with a chance. And compared to the past few years in the Kia Super League, when we're in a bit of a losing spiral at times, we've got a good grasp of this good young squad now, so it feels like a positive direction we're heading into. We've got 3 50-over games remaining, so we're hoping to finish, and we've still got a chance of making the 50-over final. As I mentioned earlier, we've got the youngest squad in the country, but we've probably got the best coaching setup around them at the moment, and it's pleasing to see England starting to take note. So Emma Lamb was called up just a few days ago for the New Zealand T20 series, and we've also had Hannah Jones and Ellie Frelkeld selected for England A. So it's really positive that England are starting to take note of the hard work that's going in with the players. And most of all, the attitude of the players. A lot of them still work. We've got players who are working in warehouses or McDonald's and coming to train with us on their own back. So what they're putting in is phenomenal. And just having winters where the training, we've only had a year with them, and to see the work they've done so far in development is phenomenal. So some really positive stuff there. Kate, to throw on to you again, where do you see this squad compared to Thunder from a couple of years ago of progress being made?
Well, progress being made, I think 10 years ago, or probably longer than that now, I was the only girl that was accepted onto the Lancashire Academy. So I think to think where women's cricket's come in the last 10, 15 years is outstanding. And to have a full squad that has got 7 professional cricketers in it when we get together, that includes me and Sophie in that, it's a bit mind-blowing, I guess, to think that. And I think in another 5 years' time, when the investment, which I think the 100 shows that if you put the investment into the women's game and market it correctly, there's people that want to come and watch us play. And we work really hard for that as well. So I think the fact that the foundation is being set here at the Thunder, at the regional setup, is what's going to pay dividends in the end, because this is where all the hard work's done. So I think if we can get another couple of girls contracted potentially in the next couple of years, then I think it's going to be flying, and it's still exciting to be a part of that 15 years later. Well
said. And we've got lofty ambitions of where we want to be, being the leading region where players can come and develop, and also the centre of excellence for performance as well. So we're very positive where we want to get to, and really appreciate the support of the club as well so far. So that's everything from us, Lee.
Thanks, David. Just to add, I spent the last 5 or 6 weeks with the men's team and the women's team on the 100 with Manchester Divisionals, and I can vouch for the quality of the play and also the positivity around the whole tournament, and I think everybody's gained significantly from it, and hopefully the game will as a whole as well. So great, well, let's move on to the men's game. So Paul, hand over to you.
Thanks, Lee. Welcome everybody, good to see you. It's 2 years, since we sat in this room for the last members forum. That's quite a stark fact when you just sit back and think about it. But it's always good to come into the room and see some smiling faces, the odd scowl around as well. But it's good to see you all here. It's also good to come into one of these meetings when the first team have had a good day. And I think it was a really good day today, given the situation. 371 all out Warwickshire. We're now exactly 100 for 1. And, who knows where this game could go. Have another good day tomorrow. We could put them under some serious pressure on the final day. I'm really glad that Dane's been able to come along this evening. He's had a semi-hard day. You've had your pads on for a while, haven't you?
A little bit of stressing at the end, but not too bad.
A bit of stressing, thinking he might get in or not, whatever. And we had Saki padded up as a night watchman, so all was not lost. I just think that what I'll do is give a brief resume of the season and then allow Dane just to put a bit of a team aspect to it. And then, of course, if you've got questions, we'll answer those later. So I think best part of a week ago, we were in the position we wanted to be going into the last month of the season. where we were in the quarter-final of the T20. We topped our group in the county championship and obviously qualified in third place for the first division, just a few points behind Warwickshire, who lead by dint of 2 victories over Nottinghamshire. And at that point we were chasing 3 titles. A couple of weeks before that we were still chasing 4, and I've been in the game a long time, and you think you've seen everything in the game, and then you see 22 scored off the last 4 balls of a game, and you think, I haven't seen it all. That was heart-rending, that when we managed to only tie that game against Essex. But I was heartened greatly by our performance in the RL50. We always knew it was going to be viewed as a development competition. We viewed it as a competition that we wanted to win, and it allowed us to blend some of our best young talent with some of our more experienced older hands. And I think all of you who managed to watch some of that cricket will have been heartened by it in certain aspects. We'll all have been a little bit distraught about the fact that we didn't qualify for the latter stages. But the emergence of individuals like George Lavelle and George Balderson and Jack Morley, who get limited opportunity in first team cricket, was heartening indeed. In the county championship, we've played some stunningly good cricket up to now. To qualify as top of our group, we played some of the best cricket I think I've seen here for many a while. We've won games and won them well, but it took us the best part of 4 days to win them. There's an awful lot of criticism about the standard of county cricket and the standard of red ball cricket in this country. And I think you as Lancashire members will know that watching Lancashire can be a joy. It can be, as I say, heart-rending as well, but it can be a joy when you watch them in red ball cricket. The amount of effort, concentration, skill and adaptability that we put into our cricket, we're deservedly top of that group, and we're deservedly in our position in the first division. It took, as I say, three of our first 4 victories took us into the final day, and we were bowling sides out twice. So some of those performances, Josh Bohannon is starting to come of age now. He's got his county cap, he's averaging 55, and he's played quite beautifully again here today. Rob Jones starting to show himself as well. Keaton Jennings averaging 48, and Luke Wells is another addition, one of our signings over the last few years that is starting to bed himself into first team cricket. We're also seeing the emergence of all-rounders like Danny Lamb, who's come on amazingly this year, both with his bowling and his batting, scoring 100 at Canterbury, and Luke Wood too, who unfortunately is injured at the moment. He's just nipped aside, and I'm not sure whether we'll see him again this summer, but Luke performed admirably all the way through the first 2/3 of the year. Very good. We've been fortunate enough to see some breathtaking performances this year. We're still delighted that James Anderson wants to turn out for Lancashire and show that he's still the best bowler in the world and one of the best seam bowlers of all time. And that spell that he took, that he bowled here, 7 for 19 to rip the heart out of Kent in that county championship, was absolutely extraordinary. So we've seen Jimmy, we've seen Saqib Mahmood develop from being a fringe county player into one of the first names inked into the first team, and now on the verge of making strides in his England career. So we're looking at Jimmy, and we're looking at Saki, and we're looking at Danny Lamb, and we're looking at Josh Bohannon and Rob Jones. And all these guys have come up through our age groups, through the EPP, into the academy, and then into the professional ranks. And that's what we are attempting to do, and will continue to attempt to do, to assemble a squad of homegrown local talent that will play for Lancashire. And if they play well for Lancashire, then the end product of that is that we will be successful, And further on from that is that those individuals will be successful and go on and represent England. And that is the raison d'etre for us playing county cricket, to be successful at Lancashire level and to provide players who play for England. And we're doing that consistently. At the moment, we've got 3 of our academy squad in the England Young Lions side who are going to be playing the West Indies. That's George Bell, Tom Aspinwall and Josh Boyden. Earlier this summer, we had 6 of our Lancashire players in the North of England side at the Bunbury Festival. That's Kesh Fonseca, Corey Flintoff, George Taylor, Jamal Proctor, Lucas Selby and Alfie Dobson. So this production line of talent is self-evident in the first team and the second team, but it's also still there and flourishing at under 15, under 18 level. So we're highly delighted with that. I've not mentioned T20 in great detail. Yet again, we qualified out of our group into the quarterfinals. It's disappointing when you go out in the quarterfinals. I have a real bone to chew over with the ECB in terms of how the schedule of the county season is structured. I don't see how it can benefit anybody having a group stage of T20, then 5 weeks off before a quarter-final, and then another 3.5 weeks to finals day. I just think that's ludicrous. And we went into that quarter-final full of hope, full of expectation, with a side that was obviously not our full strength side because we had omissions. We had Saqib sitting on his backside at Leeds, not playing a test match, but wasn't available for us. We had Parky who had COVID, and we had more than 1 or 2 injuries. And if we'd caught a couple of catches and scored another 15 runs, and I know if, but you know, we were damn close to winning that game. So I'd like to basically thank all the players for their efforts so far this year and last year, because remember, we've not been together for that long. Normally they'd come and spend a bit of time or come to one of these meetings, but we're still under COVID restrictions. That's why none of them are here at the moment. We're trying to keep everybody separate from in a team environment. And even when we go away and stay at hotels and play away games, we don't socialise. We still stay in our own specified room, have either specific meals cooked by the hotel or have a Deliveroo. So it's not been exactly easy for the lads, not that it's been easy for any of us over the last 18 months. And that is not an excuse. I'm just saying that they've gone about their work uncomplainingly and they've done a damn fine job so far. I'd also like to thank Dave Roberts and his team, our medical services operation, Sam Byrne, our physio, and Tom Webster, the strength and conditioning coach, who've been so much more than just a medical team over the last 2 years. They've kept everybody sane, including themselves. They've kept as many of us as fit as possible. Touch wood, we've had minimal COVID scares, and it's been down to those guys. So all that remains for me to say is that let's hope we have a fantastic last 3.5, 4 weeks of the summer, and that we can come home at the end of September with at least 1, if not 2 trophies. Dane, would you like to add anything to that? Give us a bit of a team perspective and see how the boys are feeling?
Yeah, well, I think you covered a huge amount there. Thank you. Just from a team perspective, I don't have a huge amount to add, but as Paul mentioned, that the team is in a great space at the moment. Everybody in the change room is, really excited and really looking forward to the back end of the season. We've had a good year from what we were expected. We wanted to get obviously into the Divisional 1, which we are in. Obviously qualify for the knockout stages of the T20 and get to that stage. As Paul mentioned, it's obviously disappointing that we didn't get through to finals days, because that would have been fantastic just to be back there again and play in front of a full house, which has been amazing to do so this year. To have everyone back supporting us, not only here, but even when we went to Taunton the other day, we had a large number of Lancashire supporters, which was fantastic to see. To have you all travelling there and being part of the team again is fantastic, because it means a hell of a lot to us. To hear your voices, to to know that we've got your backing, and when we get a wicket or when we hit a boundary, that you're fully behind us, which is fantastic. So it's nice to have everyone back. There's a huge amount of healthy competition. Everybody is pushing. You've got a couple of youngsters, as Paul mentioned, that are coming through, keeping the older lads like myself and Crofty and all the boys on our toes and pushing us to be better, and that's exactly what we want to do. We want to be better, we want to be playing, and we want to be doing well for Lancashire and winning as many games as possible, and hopefully winning competitions, which is our plan for the next 3 weeks, to get into good positions and keep building on a great couple of days that we've had here, and then looking forward to the future. So just to say that, there's a huge amount to look forward to, not only toward the back end of the season, but for the next couple of years from a team perspective. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. We'll move on to some questions now. Before we do, if I could first initially introduce Steve Davis at the right end of the table. Steve Davis is our operations director. He's been with us 18 months now, and I think, if I'm right in thinking so, I think this is the first game, Steve, where Lancashire have played here without restrictions of some kind or other.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So Steve will help here to answer any questions, and you've probably not failed to notice that kind of over my shoulder, a certain Daniel Gidney's here as well. So we're here to answer any questions you might have. But can I first suggest that we can focus on the cricket side of things, because we have a kind of table crammed with cricket people. We do have a members' surgery tomorrow lunchtime here with Phil, and Steve's going to be here. Yeah. So any kind of individual members' queries, plenty of time to cover those tomorrow. So anyway, fire away.
My name is David Hampson. My name is David Hampson. I'd like to know if the game's going to go ahead on the 21st of September at Eggbirth. I've heard a rumour. It's doubtful. Please, can you tell me?
Well, I can tell you, David, that the game will go ahead at Liverpool on the 21st of September. End of.
Is it going ahead then?
Well, I don't. He doesn't believe me.
Yes, it will definitely go ahead, and we'll be there.
My number one supporter.
I remember that. Thank you very much.
Second the world.
Phil Raby, life member. Could you tell me why is county cricket being sacrificed for the amateur Shanks 100 ball over competition? 100 ball.
I don't think county cricket is being, did you say sacrificed?
Because you played early season and in September.
I think you heard me say earlier that I have a bit of a bone to pick with the ECB about scheduling of county cricket. Well, we've always played county championship cricket in September.
Not the late as it is.
Yeah, we have.
Early season sacrifice.
We've always played county cricket in September, well, in my lifetime anyway.
The 100 ball competition should be played in September.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, I think the question that you're asking really has to be levelled at the ECB and Tom Harrison, because Lancashire as a county and me individually have no control over when the ECB sanction and schedule that particular competition. The idea of it being played in the middle of summer was to attract more people to the game, more families to the game, in school holidays when kids can readily attend. And I think, to be perfectly honest, it has ticked that box. I think the audiences have been really good. I think we've had 2/3 to full houses virtually at every game. And I think from that perspective, it has worked. If you ask the ECB, they would be highly delighted with that. When you're trying to run 4/5 competitions in a British summer, then something has to give, plus international cricket, something has to give. And I, for one, will be championing the cause of county cricket in all its forms when asked about the schedule going forward. That's all I can do.
I challenge you tonight to for a few lads and ask how many people want the Cup ball competition.
Who you want to ask who?
Ask the audience there, a few lads, how many people want it.
What's the point?
Just making a point, isn't it? How many people want it as a competition.
Go on then. I think we all went in. Well, I went into the summer with an open mind about the 100, and I must admit, for what it was, I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
It's barely a session of cricket, you're asking people about.
Yeah, but we've had the game has evolved over the last 50 years from Championship cricket played over 3 days to the Gillette Cup played over 65 overs initially, then 60 overs, through the Benson and Hedges Cup over 55 overs and then 50, the John Player League over 40 overs, then the T20 obviously over 20, and now the 100 ball. The game has evolved, and I think part of this game, part of the attraction of the game of cricket is that it has the ability to evolve and to survive and to sustain different forms of the game. And that's what we're trying to do now. And whether we like it or not, the financial aspect helps sustain county cricket and the counties.
Adding to the last point, Paul, I have a member here this year for the first time, following my retirement from working in London, where I was a member of Middlesex. I better be careful saying that. At the first 100 match that I came here to see, I found very, very welcoming, particularly the number of women who were there in the afternoon to cheer all the girls on. So, well done there. Also, as a result of that, and the fact that I've been able to bring a couple of people in here following their introduction to cricket yesterday and today, I'm pleased to say that both of them are thinking of taking membership in Lancashire next season.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. That's very encouraging. Thanks. And actually, that is another intended consequence of the 100 ball competition, that it will attract more people to the game, and those people will hopefully see that there are other forms of the game being played and will be attracted to them. And I think we've probably just highlighted 2 cases there of people who've watched the 100 but are now joining Lancashire as county members, which is great.
Hello, I'm Andrew Wang, and I want to say that I'm one of the people who were sceptical about the 100 before it started, but I came to all the matches I could here, and I was really pleased at the way it developed as a competition. But can I sort of ask Paul and anyone else who's got influence with the ECB to ask them not to expand it too much, to kill the golden goose almost, because I think one of the advantages was that it was played during or right at the end of the school term and during the school holidays when children could attend. And I must admit, I was really delighted to see even sort of young children dancing up and standing up and dancing at the 100. I don't think they'd ever been to a cricket match before, and they were having a great time. And if it then filters down, as we've just heard, into more members for the county, I think that can only be good. But please don't make it sort of a 20-match competition for each team. That will kill it and also impact further on the county side as well.
I think we share those concerns. We've always seen the competition as an opportunity to grow the game, but what we don't want is to consume the game. So they have to sit alongside each other, and we've already discussed about how difficult it is to squeeze the 4 weeks in at the moment. So to squeeze any more in, yeah, it's nearly an impossible task. But I suppose the only thing I can say from my own knowledge is I think we can be pretty certain that no, it's not going to change for the next 3 years. The next 3 years it's contracted for a 5 years tournament, but after that, who knows? But we do share those concerns.
Stuart Warburton, member. Can I speak about women's cricket? First of all, can I thank Kate Cross for all the work she's done for women's cricket over many years, and that she's still doing, which has obviously popularised the cricket and led to a rise in standards. I, for one, have been to watch women's cricket over quite a number of years now, Lancashire cricket. And this year, when we had the double-header 2020, I've got to say the improvement in the standard of the Lancashire team was beyond belief. The fielding in particular was quite superb. And if we can keep this up, we will have a great team. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
I'll pass that on as well to the coaching staff. Thank you, coaching
I
team.
think just on that though, I think that just goes to show that we've had one winter where the girls have had like genuine professional training, and if that's the improvement that can be seen through one winter, then I think that's what I mean in 5 years' time, where could the team be? And especially when you've got such a young age group. I mean, we play oldies, youngies in the warm-up, and I think Ellie Threlkell's in the oldest team and she's 23. So that just goes to show, you know, how young the team is. So, but no, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Philip Dooley. I share the feeling of some members that the 100 is good for the game, but I'm still bewildered, really, is the word I would use, in wondering how it was ethical or possible for senior people in the club, in management positions, the chief coach, as an example, how that could be ethical, moral even, to temporarily leave the post and go and engage in another competition. And we saw the result of Lancashire's performance pre the 100 and during it. Perhaps there's a lot. Could someone explain to me how that is ethical?
Lee, I don't know if I can be heard in the room. I'll pick that up. Can I be heard in the room? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there's a question of ethics here. It's very, very clear with the ECB in terms of the tournament that they wanted to give opportunities to coaches, players, strength and conditioning, physios around the game. You may not be aware that we've run an exchange programme with the Big Bash, so both Mark Chilton and Chris Bembo has spent time with the team in the Big Bash to gain development and to grow their own skills, which Lancashire then get the benefit of. So I think we see this as an opportunity for Glenn to develop his skills, which will be beneficial to Lancashire. And I think your comment which I wholly disagree with, that the results of the 50 over were because Glenn was with the 100, I think is disrespectful to Mark Chilton, who I think led the team brilliantly in Glenn's absence. It also gave Mark development opportunities as well. And through, as Paul has mentioned, a couple of very tight results at the end of games, particularly the Essex game, with a very, very young team that will only benefit from that experience. So I think that everybody knew with the ECB and the club that it gave Glenn a development opportunity, it gave Mark Chilton a development opportunity, so everything was above board. But we have a history of allowing our coaches to grow their skills abroad and in other competitions.
Thanks, Daniel. Dane, you played, you got called into the 100 part way through. What was your experience like in the 100?
Mine was a bit of a different experience. Obviously, I was with the old enemy, so it's a bit, but I thought it was a fantastic tournament. It was really, really good. I think, as Kate mentioned, it was run extremely well. And just from the players' perspective, it went down really well. Everybody enjoyed it. The experience of playing in front of big crowds only serves the players, it'll put them in good stead, and we really enjoyed the tournament. Just on that note as well, with the terms of the RL50, just from the team's perspective, it also gave myself being away, it gave opportunity to the likes of Tom Bailey to take over as captain, to further his development as a future leader and other leadership roles within the team. So I thought it was fantastic, and the feedback I got from the players was that Chile did a wonderful job. He really did, and he led the team extremely well. And to see the youngsters and everyone come through is only going to put us in good stead for the future. So I think it was excellent.
Thanks, Dan.
Good evening. Graham Shaw, my name. The points raised by the 100 are, firstly, it produced money. Without money, we don't have any form of cricket. The second point is what it did to speeding the game up, time wasting, disappeared overnight. There was no time wasting, most enjoyable. The third point being, if it is successful, what happens if half a dozen countries take up this format? Basically meaning everybody's second team will become the first team. Because all the first team will be here, there and everywhere where the money is. Yeah?
I don't agree with that, because I think there's already enough tournaments around the world for players to go and do that. You've got the CPL, you've got the RPL, you've got T10, you've got Big Bash, you've got every Canada League. If you want to do that as a player, you well within your rights, and you just see the type of players that we still have here who are still playing and are trying to make their name and play all forms of cricket all around the world. So I think
It's extra to what you've got now.
There will be extra, but there's still a huge amount. And as a player, you could be busy for the whole year in the specific leagues already. And there are some players who do that. Your Chris Gales, your Karen Pollards, Alex Hales, they do that. So there are enough tournaments, and there's only a certain amount of space available for these types of tournaments, and the big ones will take over.
But that extra 100 will take some time away from the likes of you spending the time in England.
Again, like I said, if I wanted to, and if I was that good, like AB de Villiers, I could be around. There's the year is open, full of tournaments. So I don't think that's 100% correct.
Hi, Roy Chandler. Is there any indication from the ECB what's going to happen in the county championship next year, or going forward? Is it going back to 2 divisions, or
no indication as yet? No. There are all sorts of things being tossed around, but nothing definitive. But if you want a personal view from me, I think we've got to play some red ball cricket under the 100. But I've always said that. The criticism of that particular theory was that it would undermine the county championship. But I think county cricket is in danger of being undermined anyway, irrespective of the 100. I think you've seen through the RL50 this summer, I think there were 100 debuts made by players around the country over the 18 counties. And I'm a little bit frustrated that the ECB, whilst championing the 100, and that's quite right, they've got to do that, made absolutely nothing of the RL50. And they had a classic opportunity to tell everybody how good cricket was and what the depth of skill and performance was throughout the game. Yes, we've got the 100 at the pinnacle in terms of one-day cricket, but we've also got the RL50 competition being played. where we're seeing the next generation of cricketers. Now, I think it's generally accepted around the counties that that has been a success, the blooding of young players in the white ball competition. And I don't see any reason why we couldn't apply that theory to red ball cricket and play 2 or 3 rounds of county championship cricket under the 100. It would broaden the spectrum of the game. It would allow members and people who do not like watching white ball cricket or the 100, they would have a choice. They would be able to go and watch a 4-day county championship game. And as I say, it would allow players to develop quicker. It would allow you to watch the next generation. And I just don't see any reason why we shouldn't do that. If you also add into the equation the fact that there has been so much bleating about the England test team and the quality of batsmen that we've had to pick or not pick, and those out of form have had nowhere to go to get any decent red ball practice, it would solve that at a stroke as well. Having said all that, that has not been mentioned by the ECB as yet, as I said, and nothing has in terms of a revised structure of county cricket.
The one thing I can just add to Paul's comments there is the ECB are looking at the structure. They do see the schedule next year as being very important to get right, because they recognise that there were problems this year. I mean, adding to everything that Paul has said, I agree entirely that actually that Paul and I have both in the past articulated to the ECB that you need to have county championship played in July and August. And the other issue is that there was only 8 days, if you exclude our quarter-final blast away, we had 8 days of cricket while between the county cricket between the 18th of July and the 30th of August. And frankly, I don't think that's enough. So, you know, actually having 3 county championship games would immediately give you a lot more, possibly even 4. So it's something that is under discussion. The ECB know that they have to come up with a better plan next year that doesn't involve blast group games being so separate from knockouts, and they know they need to fix what happens at the same time as 100. There are no easy answers here, but the ECB do know that they have to answer that question in the next 2 or 3 months.
Paul Conder, Chester. I'd like to ask the captain, have you given up keeping wicket? And why have you signed yet another wicket keeper? And what is your description of the wicket today, please?
So firstly, no, I haven't given up wicket keeping, no, but we picked a young wicket keeper we believe is a future star for Lancashire in George Burrows, so we're looking forward to seeing him go and see how he plays. I mean, he's a fantastic keeper and a fantastic batsman who's done extremely well for us, not only last year but in the second team this year, and I hope he does extremely well for us in the future. So also it gives me a little bit of a break with keeping, batting and captaining, so just to take a little bit of pressure off me at times, but more so the fact that I think he's going to be a really good player for the team. Sorry, what was the second question?
The wicket.
The wicket.
The wicket.
The wicket. It was a wicket that I would have liked to have batted first on. Unfortunately, I lost the toss, much to some of the heckling from my teammates and mainly the bowlers. So it was a bit disappointing. But saying that, I think the wicket is a little bit placid, and unfortunately, it's just this time of year, it's how it is. But saying that, I think there's still a huge amount of time in the game, and then we'll bring our 2 spinners, hopefully after a good batting performance, we'll bring our spinners into the game in the end of day 3 and day 4.
Thank you. Supplementary, may I comment that Paul Allott gave interesting statistics: 65, 60, 50, 40, 20, decline, deterioration. A lot of that, of course, is due to sociological conditions. the crowds here today, very different from when my father was a member here, and there would be 20,000 for Rosie's games all 3 days, and people wearing cloth caps and so forth. Not much we could do about that, perhaps. It's all part of the sociological bubble that we're all in. But I think there are positive features, which you've outlined for us, but there is a tinge of regret about the way things used to be, but that's what's happened when you get old.
Well said.
Tony Shaw, Life member. Could I ask Paul and Dane, what do the players prefer? Do they prefer the two divisions with the threat of relegation, or do they like the mix as it is currently? Now, I know last year we didn't make the first division, so therefore it's like nothing to play for in divisions 2 and 3. Whereas this year we've got everything to play for, and obviously the other counties haven't. But does taking the threat away of relegation actually improve matters from a player's perspective?
From a player's perspective, I quite like the 3 formats and how it gives everybody an equal chance to win the first division. If you're playing well and your team at that stage is in good form, it gives you an equal opportunity to win it. Because if you're in the second division, it's obviously very difficult. For instance, when we were in 2019, the team that we had and the way that the team was playing, unfortunately, we were probably too strong for that second division. It was our fault, obviously, being in that second division, but we were too strong for that. And if we had this similar type of format, we would have had a great opportunity of winning that first division. I think there needs to be a slight mix of the system. Going back to the first and second division, so obviously there's a lot more to play for, and the threat of being relegated or actually trying to win the division is always there and ever present. So I think there needs to be an ad, but I quite like how it's been sort of changed up a little bit. And again, saying that, it's also nice to play different teams. I've been here now for 5 years, and there's some teams who I had never played before. And for us to go down to Kent and play a game there was fantastic. So it's nice to play different teams, challenge ourselves on different conditions. So I think it is good in a way, but it might need a little bit of a jig here and there.
A further question is, I know we're obviously getting towards the end of the season now, and the personnel changes come around. Now, we know we're getting Salt, and we know Davis is moving on. Could you give us an example why Davis couldn't be persuaded to stay at the county? And I'm sure you won't want to say who may be leaving or not leaving at the end of this season, but which players' contracts are up for renewal at the end of this season? Let's put it that way.
We've released 2 players whose contracts are up. Both lads who've not really featured in the first team. That's O.A. Sharp and Ed Moulton. Alex Davis chose to go to another county. He chose to take a contract at Warwickshire, and we did make efforts to extend his contract. We've done that in the past. So he's made that. He's free to make his choice. He wanted to go into the last year of his contract, and that's what he did, and he made a choice to move on. I prefer to talk about players who we're going to keep and who we've signed. Phil Salt, who is if you like, a straight replacement for Alex Davis as an opening bat, aggressive player, England international, wicket keeper, made a very conscious effort to move away from Sussex, and the only place he wanted to come was here. And he turned down a number of offers from other counties so that he could cement his place with us and sign a contract with us, and we're delighted to have him along. As for other players whose contracts are up, we are in the process of finalising contracts for everyone else on the staff. The majority of them have got contracts to the end of 2022. we're either leaving some of those at 2022 or extending them beyond that.
I saw 2 years ago in Adelaide.
Who did you see, David?
Who saw?
Oh yeah.
I saw him 2 years ago.
You didn't tell me about it then.
And I wanted the event. What was working that?
Right. Well, there we are. We'll hope so.
I tell you what, it's as good as Dane Beaver.
And that's saying something. That.
Dane Beaver is here for life.
That's saying something. That.
He's here for life. 266. I will never forget. 2
Colwyn Bay.
I was there.
Thank you, Dave.
Colwyn Bay. He was absolutely brilliant.
Right.
Do we have any final couple of questions, or are we done?
Could you explain the thinking in the closing of the stand E, the point? What's the thinking behind not using that at the moment?
You put it up, Steve.
Yeah, no worries. Essentially, what's really come out recently with the regulations from the council in terms of crowd safety means that we have to heavily staff any stand that we open. So essentially what we're trying to do is just move the stands around. So for each game, if we're not going to fill the stadium, we just open different stands. That allows us to reduce the amount of staff that we have on the day. It also allows us to put any maintenance in place for that stand as well. So it's just a case of stands will be on rotations if we feel that's necessary. So there's nothing more complicated than that. I don't think it's just simple as that.
But as a byproduct, you've got people squeezed together, and we all know COVID is still around. So you're looking at the pavilion that's standing the way it was. People are far closer together than many would like to be.
Okay, look, I think what I would say to that is if anyone feels uncomfortable with their proximity to other spectators, to other people, just speak to a steward. We have spaces that we can move people to. So from what I saw today, it was fairly well spread out, so there are seats available. So if you do feel like on a personal level, and please send this message out to anyone else, on a personal level, you're uncomfortable with that, obviously we would hate for you to have an uncomfortable day. So just speak to a steward or a member of staff and we will happily move you somewhere else, not a problem.
Okay, if there's no final questions, can I just draw things to a close by firstly thanking Steve, Kate, David, Paul and Dane for sitting on the panel today. Can I thank you all for attending and for your support of the team today. And finally, I'm sure we'd all like to join in wishing both Kate and Dane and the teams the best for the rest of the season. Thank you.
Yeah.